grade 10s, as promised, I'm preparing a series of videos that I'm going to post on YouTube that will help you with the concept of factoring. What is factoring? Well, factoring is the opposite of expanding. So up until this point, we looked at distributive property and foiling and multiplying. Now we want to go the other way, the opposite way. Okay, let's just take a look at something. If I gave you the number 12, and I asked you for the factors of 12, in other words, what times what is going to give me 12? That's easy. You guys would simply say 12 times 1 gives you 12. Or 6 times 2 gives you 12. Or 4 times 3 gives you 12. However, if I introduce letters into the mix, for example, 5x squared plus 25, is it very simple for you to just come up with something times something gives you this? No, it's a little bit more confusing because of the variables that are in the question. And so we have what I call this factoring checklist that will help you. And the very first thing on our factoring checklist is what's called a greatest common factor. But how do you know if it's a greatest common factor? Well, you have to take a look to see if it meets these criteria. So in other words, you want to check that the polynomial has 2 or more terms. You want to see if there's a GCF between all the terms. What is this GCF? What does that mean? Well, it stands for greatest common factor. It's a number, and you want the biggest number that will divide into all your terms, or a letter that divides into all your terms, something that's common. If you decide that there is a GCF, basically you would write down the GCF, open up your bracket, and divide all the terms by the GCF. So let's take a look at the question that I just wrote down. So 5x squared plus 25. Does this polynomial have 2 or more terms? Yes, it does. Is there a number that will divide into 25 and 5? And again, you want the biggest number, and that would be 5. Now, this term has an x. Does this term have an x? No, so x is not common. Our GCF is just simply 5. So you open up your bracket, and basically you divide this monomial term by 5, write your answer, follow the signs, this monomial term divided by 5, write your answer, close the bracket, and you're done. So let's take a look. 5 divided by 5 divides out. We're left with x squared. Positive divided by positive is positive, and 25 divided by 5 is 5. Close your bracket. Now you're in a position to say 5 times this binomial will give you 5x squared plus 25. So what times what? This times this will give you 5x squared plus 25. Let's take a look at another one. What if I were to give you 4x squared y to the 5 plus 12x y squared plus 16x cubed y to the 6. Now, is it easy for you to say, this times this will give me this trinomial? Well, it will be easy in a moment. Follow your checklist. What's the first thing on our checklist? It's the only thing you know right now. Greatest common factor. Is there a number, and I'm looking for the biggest number, that will divide into 4, 12, and 16? Yes, 4 will divide into all of them. Notice 2 will go in, but it's not the biggest number. Now take a look. There's an x, there's an x, there's an x. So each term has an x that's common, but how do you know which one to take? Well, you want to take the one with the lowest exponent, because remember, when you're dividing monomials, you always want the higher exponent subtract the lower one. So out of x squared, x, and x cubed, it's x that has the lowest exponent. So that's the one that you take. Now there's a y, there's a y, there's a y. So all 3 of them share a common y, but which one do I take? y5, y2, or y6? Well, the one with the lowest, which would be y squared. So our GCF is 4xy squared. I've identified it. I'm going to open the bracket, and I'm now going to divide each term by my GCF. This term by the GCF, this term by the GCF. And so here we start. 4 divided by 4 divides out. X squared divided by x, I subtract the exponents, I will be left with x. y5 divided by y squared, again, I subtract the exponents, I'm left with y cubed. Positive divided by positive is positive. 12 divided by 4 is 3. X divided by x divides out. Y squared divided by y squared divides out. Positive divided by positive is positive. 16 divided by 4 is 4. X cubed divided by x is x squared. And then x to the 6 divided by y to the 2 is y to the 4. Close your bracket. So what times what will give me this trinomial? This monomial times this trinomial. And you can check it. If you actually distributed, if you take 4xy squared times this, times 3, times this last term, you will get the original question. So those are kind of just the basics on greatest common factor. We're going to do a couple of more different styles of examples tomorrow in our lesson, and hopefully you can refer back to the video if you forget any of the parts. See you later.